There's always something that needs a little fixing on Farpoint Farms.
Hey guys, it's Eric here at Farpoint Restorations. Check it out. You know, you see a lot of videos on YouTube that are toolbox tours, but you don't see many that talk about organizational skills in garages. And I do a lot of work here at the house. One of the things that I have learned to do to save money is to keep nuts and bolts and washers and bulbs and fuses and you name it. Anything that is a consumable or something I might need while working or restoring a car, I hang on to. But then you end up with stuff like this. You end up with these jars or these coffee pots and they're just full of random assortment of junk, right? Nuts and bolts. And that right there is from deconstructing the building behind me here, taking it all apart, putting it all back together. I saved all those old screws. Well, when I part out a car, I save a lot of stuff off of it. But if you just put it in a big old jug, that becomes a giant mess, right? You can't find what you need when you need it. Well, let me show you my solution. I built this out of scrap wood. It's a little bit of an extension. You can kind of see the existing tabletop over there, but this was just another like workbench, so to speak. But what's special about it is this. This is a Cobalt drawer set that I picked up. You can even see the number still on it in some of the places. It was something I got for like $25, I think I paid per, and I bought 4 of these. I gave one away. I kept the other 3 for part storage. And so it's like a toolbox, but it's not something you could have bought. But you could easily make something like this or use an inexpensive low-end toolbox to do something like this. But what I'm going to do now, I'm going to get the camera in closer here, and I'm going to show you in these drawers how I took the time, and man, did it take some time up front to go through and organize all these used nuts and bolts and sockets and washers, I'm sorry. So what you end up with is, if you need it, now you know where it is and you can get to it easy. Let's check it out. Well, here we are up close, and you can see it is a 6-drawer setup. I never even bothered to take the stickers off or whatever sockets or wrenches or whatever used to live in here, but it's been really helpful. And again, I built the cabinet or the table here to fit it. I should have put them side by side, but I do have 2 other units that I use for radio gear, like electronics and stuff like that. But I'll go ahead and open up the top drawer here and you can take a look and you can see what I'm talking about here. You know, fuses, these are actually, and there's a little bit of overflow of some relays there, but that is where I keep relays. Over here is vacuum tubes, vacuum lines. Back here we have our U-bolts, hose clamps. In the back here it's all, oh my gosh, trim pieces, all those trim bolts. That's crazy stuff there. Then we have cotter pins here. This is all our cotter pins in various different sizes, as well as some of those, these are like body clips. More relays, fuse holders, and lots of bulbs over here. So this is all bulbs here. Try to make sure, maybe I need to move this out a little bit. Yeah, I guess so, there we go, that's better. All bulbs here. I've got a variety of different types of bulbs that I've salvaged from cars. More bulbs, and this is some tractor stuff as well, but some fog lights in there as well. Moving down and we get into nuts and bolts and washers and home, oh my, you know. Everything from mild to wild. I mean, we have some pretty big stuff that I pulled off of tractors, medium-sized stuff. Then we have our metric pitch threads, and then we have our coarse threads. I mean, I took the time on a day where it was snowing like crazy to go through. And of course, you do get a little bit of stuff mixed up, but you know, coarse threaded tapered tips. I went through and separated all this stuff out. Nuts and bolt sizes, you know, the larger stuff here. You got tons of flat washers, which these are in the wrong spot here. Oh, I must have closed the drawer a little too hard. I was wondering why those were in there, but these are all lock washers here and star washers. These are all regular washers here. And what happens is now when I need something, I know that I've either got it or don't got it. And in most of the cases nowadays, I've got it. You know, different pitch threads, but that size, that size. Here we go down to the next lower size, metric size there. Our smaller stuff. And you can see these are new old stock, I should say. These were something, I can't remember, but my wife brought it home. Jim brought these home. They were, you know, maybe a penny a piece or something like that. So we bought everything they still had on the shelf. Then someday they'll get used, you know. Little self-tapping stuff in the back here, and real fine machine screw stuff here. So it's amazing how I had all this stuff but could never find any of it because it's just like an assorted pile of misery, you know. And now it's all here. Lug nuts, various type lug nuts, battery terminals of various types, more U-bolts for exhaust work. Here we have assorted, most of these are much smaller than the few that I've pulled out here, but like deck screws, small screws, self-tappers, stuff like that. Wheel weights and wheel valve stem seals and stuff like that. Those are just assorted stuff that I kept off of cars that were reusable. And there's some airline fittings over here. Outlets for electrical work, door reinforcements, more relays. Those are studs in the back there. And, you know, stuff for like housework, electrical wiring, and more extra light bulbs back here. And then we move down this next drawer. I love this drawer. You guys will get a kick out of this. This is what happens when a Radio Shack goes out of business near you. I went and cleaned out Radio Shack and just bought a lot of stuff. A lifetime supply, my own personal Radio Shack. This line here and that there is all Radio Shack stuff. Then we do have a bit of like repair for my AC compressor plumbing. And these would be O-rings and more cotter pins. Over here, assorted wiring. Again, all this stuff is, well, all three drawers are all Radio Shack clear outs that I'll probably have for the rest of my life. And then the bottom here, I have all my deck screws, nails, stuff like that for homework. But nice organized place. You know you've got it if you have it, you know. So let me back the camera up and we'll wrap this thing up. I guess the reason that I'm showing you all this video here and showing you how I do this is to give you some inspiration to do it yourself in your garage. For the longest time, this was how I stored everything. I had 5-gallon buckets full of nuts and bolts, and you just can't actually do anything with that. You spend 30 minutes trying to find a nut or a bolt. So rather than spend the 30 minutes doing it every single time I needed one, I came up when I got my hands on this with, hey, you know what? I'm going to spend 8 hours and I'm going to separate everything out I have until each of those trays is full or about full, or I just have so many of the same type that I went ahead and recycled those, put them into the scrap bin. So you can do it. Now, granted, it's probably going to be hard to find a box like this, but you could use an old dresser, you know, and build partitions into it. You could use anything and build cubby holes for it. Originally, I was going to use those yellow, well, I got a blue one here. I was going to get a bunch of that style, those little hooks, you know, that hang on the back there, and they sit down, and I was going to do that. And I got close to, you know, pricing it out, and I was going to make an order and make that happen. And then I realized that it didn't have to be that complicated. It didn't have to be that official, I should say. So hopefully this will give you a little bit of inspiration to organize your own shop. And in another video, I'll show you some of the other organizational techniques I use here at Farpoint Restorations. Take care, my friends.